Once you're kind of familiar with the market and you've seen a lot of stuff sell, you know, maybe you got a good deal on some Tudor Beast coins, and you see it selling online for much higher than the price that you paid for it. Sometimes it is good to take advantage of those situations. Um, especially if it's something where you could basically take that money and get 50% more silver with it because the premiums went so high on some specific item.
Hi, and welcome to the GG Bullion Podcast, Episode 4. Today we will be talking about a lot of questions that both new and experienced stackers commonly ask and have asked me recently. And I think both new and seasoned stackers will definitely get something out of this discussion. So we're going to talk about pretty much everything stacking related. And today with me, I have Mountain Bullion Entertainment. Hello.
Hello, thanks a lot for having me back on.
Just before we get into it, I just want to say that although between the two of us we have decades of experience stacking, none of our neither of us are financial advisors, and none of this should be considered financial advice. This is just our own experiences and our own opinions. And with that out of the way, we can hop into it. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
So, I guess the most fundamental thing is what is stacking?
So stacking is when you convert your fiat currency into a safe haven asset. In this case, you're converting your fiat currency into gold or silver, and you're essentially turning it back into real money. If you're here in the US and you buy constitutional silver, for example, you're literally buying your money back because before 1964, our coins were still real money. The dimes, quarters, and half dollars, as well as the dollars, were all 90% silver. And the half dollars actually remained 40% silver until 1969.
Mhm. Yep, and pretty much aside from like around the 60s, pretty much for the all of human history, the regular everyday money was silver and gold. And this is like a continuation of that, but under the fiat system. So it's basically putting your money into something that has natural scarcity as well as utility and industry and other things, real value. So a lot of people with the price of gold going up, at least at time of recording, and silver kind of going up, and a lot of people have asked me a lot of questions, and that's what we're going to cover. And I've got questions from both people that have been stacking for, over a year, 2 years, and people that are just getting into it now. But there's a lot of interest in it right now. So I think what's really important to cover before we get into really anything else are the the reasons for stacking, and almost more importantly, the wrong reasons for stacking.
Yeah, that's a really important thing to bring up. Um, I'll tell you what, as far as the reason why people stack physical gold and silver, primarily is a hedge against inflation. So if things are going well in the economy, you might be able to get like a high interest savings account or money market or bond that could outpace inflation. If inflation gets really high, um, you it's something with gold and silver where it's just going to keep rising with that inflation regardless. So in a normal economic environment, maybe you can counterbalance the inflation with the interest you'd be getting off one of these financial vehicles. But this is a way to protect you from like out of control inflation, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like it's a great store of value. And at least to me, when I look at it, except for things like, coin flipping and certain things like that, which we'll get into later in the discussion, which I guess is kind of more advanced topic. We'll get to that. But really it is to me, and I don't know if you would agree with this. I would probably assume so, but for the most part, I mean, it is a long-term investment. Like it's something you hold for quite a while.
Oh
Would
yeah,
you agree with that?
definitely going to do much better as a long-term investment. And I mean, other tangible assets could potentially provide the same function that people look for with gold and silver. A lot of folks will look at land or real estate as an inflation hedge. Um, but gold and silver really are the most common and reliable way to protect, smaller amounts of your wealth at a time. So basically, what stackers are doing is they're taking, just a small percentage of their wealth on a regular basis, whether it's, once a month or once a week or whatever it is, and converting that into uh, gold or silver. Um, then, I would say another reason that people stack the physical precious metals is because there's no counterparty risk.
Mm.
Kind of like that old saying, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. If you
Yes.
buy paper silver, for example, it's very unlikely you would be able to get any of that physical silver if you asked for delivery. The paper to silver ratio today is like 390 to 1 or something like that. So for every 390 silver contracts that they sell on the commodities exchange or COMEX, there's only 1 ounce of physical silver backing that. So that's a huge advantage to stacking physical versus investing in a paper version of gold or silver.
Yeah. Plus,
And
plus
plus,
with
when you
the
hold it, you feel like royalty from the old world.
oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great feeling. And with the ETFs and other forms of paper silver, I believe that in the contracts there's a stipulation that they can just settle in cash. Like they can
I
give
believe
you,
so.
yeah, they can give you dollars. But if there's a run on the commodities exchanges, they probably don't have the silver to give you, and they can settle in cash. Whereas if you have the physical silver, or gold or platinum, whatever it may be, any of these precious metals, um, you have them. The only thing is like to store them well, and we'll get to that. But they're really, aside from theft, I suppose, or acts of God, there is no counterparty risk, which is a big thing for that. So I wanted to
Right.
kind of get your I think this kind of leads into it, your perspective on how physical metals differ from other forms of investment, because there's certain things like, obviously you had mentioned real estate, but a lot of people that are maybe living almost paycheck to paycheck where they don't have that much money to really put away. There's things like stocks, there's things like cryptocurrency that you could do that. And I guess, how do you view physical metals and how it really differs from that? Because it is very different.
Right, absolutely. And then just to talk about the wrong reasons to stack real quick, I would say don't view it as a get rich quick scheme. It's possible that that could happen, but that would be, highly unusual. Typically when you buy silver or gold, you're going to pay the price plus the premium. For example, if you got a silver maple leaf for like $5 over spot, um, you'll probably be reselling that for somewhere around spot, but you're going to have to wait for the cost of silver to increase by $5 before you got your money back out of that. And so there could be sometimes outside of that, and we'll touch on that later as far as reselling. Um, but where maybe you got a good deal on some Philharmonics for like $3 over spot, and then 3 months later the spot price has gone up $1.50, and you see people buying them online for $7 over spot. You might be able to make a very small profit in a short period of time. But this is something you're going to need to plan on sitting on for like years or decades.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and I think that kind of brings me to the mindset thing. Like, yeah, it is a long-term investment. Like you said, there are cases where, but I mean, because of premiums, which we'll kind of get into why those exist. But because of the premiums, when you buy, you are kind of cornered in for a little bit, and you have to wait for the price or premiums from sellers. But generally, you have to wait a little bit to make some capital gains on that. So that's a big mindset thing is and I think that's one of the most important things. It seems like precious metals reward patience. Like
Absolutely.
you put it away, and I have seen people that think that it's a get rich quick scheme. Back in the day, I've seen people on Reddit that threw in all their money at one price point, and we'll get into dollar cost averaging. I know we got a lot to talk about here, but I think just mindset is very important to realize that this is a long-term investment. I mean, there are opportunities that can pop up where you can make a lot of capital gains relatively quickly, but I definitely would not count on that. It's a long-term thing. I mean, for me personally, it's kind of like for retirement and some of it to be passed on. Like I have a very
Yeah.
long-term plan.
Yeah, that's the best way to plan for it. And because you can't expect it to make you a lot of money really quick. I mean, and if it does, then that's great.
Mhm.
But yeah, you shouldn't expect that that is what is going to happen.
Yeah. So
And
anyway, sorry, I know we kind of let me get back to
no,
this. As far as other things that are relatively accessible that people can convert their dollars or whatever currency of their country. There's things like stocks, index funds, cryptocurrency. Um, in your view, like how do precious metals like really differ from all those other forms of investments? And what are kind of the pros? I mean, I know no counterparty risk is a big one. But is there anything else as far as like what is like fundamental differences between physical metals and crypto or stocks, index funds, bonds, things like that?
well, something that's really important to remember is we're talking about, the oldest metals that are considered money, 4,000 years or so in the case of silver. And if you ever want to look up Exeter's pyramid, it's this inverted pyramid, and gold and silver are the basis for all money. So gold and silver, they can't go to zero. They're going to retain their value better than anything else out there. That you can look at. Now, something with stocks or crypto is they have a lot more upside potential. So people, could end up positioning themselves in a manner where they could buy a stock or a crypto when it's really low and then offload it, during one of its like blow off top phases and do very well with that. They also have the potential of losing tremendous amounts of value. And if you were looking at a really volatile economic environment, the odds of them losing value would go way up. And not that gold and silver might not lose a little in an environment like that, but they're going to be the strongest in that type of environment.
Yeah, yeah. And I know myself from personal experience, I dabble in crypto a bit, and there are certain cryptos that I have basically gone to zero. Like I have lost everything I put into it, which luckily wasn't much for those, but I think that's a big pro to the precious metals, especially at least gold and silver. We can touch on platinum a little bit later, but it's almost, at least in the long run, it's a sure thing, or as close to humanly possible as you can get to a sure thing. And that's a big advantage for me is like I know that, worst case scenario, I'm not going to lose money off of this in the long term. Where with every other investment that is a possibility of the stock market crashing, crypto market crashing, different individual stocks going down. Whereas over time, um, even if the entire stock market crashes and all of that, and we have hyperinflation, even in those times historically, like in Weimar Germany, precious metals held their purchasing power. And that is a big thing. It's almost like a safety net for your wealth, like you said, both a hedge against inflation and really a protection for your wealth. And it's almost like that's the base thing. And then um, making capital gains is just like the cherry on top. Like it's an added benefit.
Right, absolutely. And um, I have to say, I completely agree with you. I think anyone would sleep easier at night if they were invested in gold. It's just so much less volatile.
Hmm.
Especially in kind of a turbulent economic time period. Um, Now, gold, I would say, is a little safer than silver in regards to that. Silver is good too, but I would say gold in general is a little safer, especially over a long period of time. Um, and when you're comparing the two, gold takes up less space.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, something really important about people who are thinking about getting into stacking gold, especially fractional gold, is making sure you are getting the lowest premium you can on that stuff because the premiums can get pretty crazy on the fractional stuff sometimes. If you're stacking fractional gold, I recommend checking for trusted sellers before settling for the lowest price. And when you're doing this, so you maybe call a local coin shop and then check out some of the big bullion exchanges, online, some of the big dealers. Maybe check eBay, because like the price differences can be pretty staggering sometimes. Looking at some of these 20 francs, um, you know, not that long ago, I mean, the difference between the lowest cost one and the highest cost one I could find was like 45 bucks. And I mean, it was basically a 10% price difference. I mean, so it can be huge and it can save you a bunch of money.
Yeah, yeah. That definitely shopping around is a good thing to do. And I for the people that happen to be watching this that are either just getting into stacking or thinking about getting into stacking, obviously the experienced people will know this, but I did want to kind of just go quickly over the difference of different types. Like there's basically rounds, as far as bullion, there's rounds, bars, what I typically just call sovereign coins. And then there's more collectible coins, and then 90%. So bars are basically what they are. They're silver and gold bars. Rounds are essentially a round bar. It's basically a coin that's privately minted. And at least right now, rounds like that, typically there are some collectors rounds, but rounds are going to be like the generally in 1 ounce, 2 ounce, those sizes are going to be the lowest premium stuff you can get. 1 ounce, smaller bars are pretty much the same. Uh, Usually are like 30 cents an ounce more for smaller bars. But when you get into the big bars, like 10 ounce, even like 1 kilo, 100 ounce bars, those big bars, then you're gonna get potentially a much, not a much, but you're gonna get a better premium that's closer to spot price. And then sovereign coins are minted by a government, so that's things like in the US and probably I think in the world, the most popular coin would be like the American Silver Eagle, the British Britannia, the Austrian Philharmonic, um, the Australian kangaroos, the South African Krugerrands, and that goes for both, gold and silver. And those are going to cost you more, but typically when you sell, you're going to get a little more of a premium back, and we'll get into selling. But and then it's called either constitutional or junk silver, which for US stuff is generally 90% purity, and that is getting more and more rare over time. Um, and then if you happen to be Canadian, then that it would be 80%. So that's like older. dimes, quarters, and half dollars. So those are the basic kind of types of stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody that is watching this that is just like looking to get in. They don't even know. That's a basic explanation. And then as far as numismatic stuff, some people call it numismatic, some people call it semi-numismatic. That's like the Perth Mint Lunar series or reverse proof stuff. That those are more collector's coins where you're going to pay a higher premium. And that's more something that you, when you go to sell, it would be more so in a private sale.
Right. Yeah. If you have like a Libertad, you're going to do a lot better with that in a private sale than you are walking
Mhm.
into a coin shop.
Yeah, and I don't know if you wanted to discuss because I often get asked like, where do I buy, where do I sell? And I know we had kind of covered this in a video that I did on your channel with you, which I will link in a moment. There's basically two main options. And I think when somebody is starting to stack, you should kind of formulate a plan, and it may change because when I first started stacking, I kind of was like, oh, I'm just going to sell it to a shop. And then over time, it was like, well, I have some stuff I can sell to a shop and that'll be easy. But I have some stuff that, I can flip in private sales, which private sales are a lot more work. Um, but I think that's something that's very important to kind of think about as you build your stack.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical to think about how you're going to resell it, when that day
Mhm.
comes. Um, and everything he was talking about with the different types of silver is totally true. And so basically, the coins are just going to be more trusted than the rounds. Um, the Aztec calendar rounds, there are some fakes of those bouncing around. The constitutional silver is a very, very rarely faked. I haven't come across a piece of fake constitutional silver. And as you can imagine, the smaller they get, I feel like the less and less likely it would be for them to be faked. For example, what are the odds someone's going to try and fake a mercury dime?
Yeah,
Um,
pretty rare.
but yeah, right. Pretty because it's so small, like there's not much profit in it. You're faking US currency also. So, um, y- there's just a lot of risk associated with something like that. So in general, the coins are going to be more trustworthy. Some of the coins are going to have security features. You're going to buy them at a higher premium and then, hopefully offload them at a high premium also. So with coins, I feel like you're going to do much better with a private party sale than walking into a coin shop. Although sometimes you can get really good deals on coins at coin shops. Like I can't find a better deal online for 90% silver half dollars like these here than I can find at one of the LCSs in my area. Um, Typically, as the weight goes up, you're going to pay a lower premium. So, something like 10-ounce bar or kilo, is going to be your lowest premium. Also, they're not going to pay you much of a premium when you're reselling that. And I've heard stories of people with the really big stuff, like 100-ounce bar
Oh yeah.
of people refusing to buy them, LCSs. And then,
Oh yeah.
do you want to ship that? So
Hmm.
I would be cautious about getting too heavy on like really big chunks of silver for folks out there. I think it would be better to go with gold in those situations, if you're going really heavy.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Personally, I would not go over a kilo, 1 kilogram, which is like what 32.15 troy ounces, I
Exactly.
believe. I would not go over that for a single piece because yeah, those 100-ounce bars can be difficult to liquidate, and you're not necessarily getting the best premium when you do find a buyer. Um, so a lot of people do ask me though because with the prices going up, I have received a lot of questions, even from people that have been stacking for years that just haven't really sold much stuff. And really, I guess those are the two main options. or there's a hybrid of each, which is either you can sell to a coin shop, which generally a coin shop, they're going to give you a certain amount for generic bars and rounds. They will probably give you a little bit more for, basic sovereign coins like Britannia's, American Silver Eagles, um, Krugerrands, that kind of stuff. But for the more numismatic collector's coins, like the Perth Mint Lunar series or graded slabbed stuff, you might get a little bit more, but you're not going to really get the premium that you want because you have to put in quite a big premium when buying that high premium stuff, I guess, the numismatics. So, I'm gonna put on the screen two pie charts basically that kind of show the difference between like what somebody's stack might look like. This is just an example where one, we'll say stack that you're gonna sell to a local coin shop. Whereas you can see, usually your best bet is like the majority, like more than half is going to be bars and rounds, some sovereign coins, and then you can throw, some constitutional silver in there, but you should go pretty low on the numismatics, maybe just some for yourself. But because with the Perth Mint Lunar Series, they're beautiful coins, but if you take them to a coin shop, they're not really going to give you what they would be worth in a private sale. Um, and then if you look at somebody's stack, for example, and these are just, it's just more diverse. We can go, if you're doing private sales, it's a lot more work. I know Mountain Bullion, you sell on eBay, correct?
That's correct. And yeah, I think that those charts are really good. I would say for folks in the US, I would say the constitutional silver, there's a lot of potential there as far as
Mhm.
getting it at a decent price and being able to resell it in private party sales for a decent um profit.
Yeah,
It,
and I don't sell on eBay. I maybe I should learn how to get into that, but I have kind of developed like through Facebook groups that are like buy, sell, trade, and whatever in the Metro Detroit area. I've done through there, and I've kind of developed a network of people to both buy and sell from, which is really nice. But if you see in that example pie chart, you can have a lot more of those collectors coins, more sovereign coins. You can basically have a more diverse stack, and even if you're into it, can even get stuff like jewelry, which if you take it to a coin shop, that's not. I would not advise that. I wouldn't do that personally. But in private sales, if you're interested in that, that's something you can do, and that kind of opens you up more to collecting, but you do have to put in the work to go sell it.
Absolutely. And it's going to take longer to offload if you're selling it private party. Where potentially if you have I think that the LCS composition that looks really good. And that's something where you could hopefully offload that really quickly.
Mhm.
Um, you'll always make more though if you can engage in private party sales, but it will take you longer to process through all those transactions.
Yeah, I know for me personally, I kind of do a hybrid of for like most bars and around, some through private sales, but I can take them to the LCS and that's fine. But for the more collector stuff and even some rounds and bars, I'm still gonna get more in a private sale, or just Britannia's, whatever people happen to be interested in. Um,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And then as far as gold, because that was kind of more generally on silver, it's kind of the same for gold from my experience, except it's more extreme. Generally, unless maybe it's a graded, slabbed, you know, pre-1933, maybe you'll get a higher premium at coin shops, but generally, whether it's a coin or a bar or even a gold round, which there aren't that many of them out there, but they still exist. Coin shops tend to give you just the same price across the board for gold for the most part. So personally, if I were going to be selling gold to a local coin shop, I would go way heavier into bars, almost all into bars, and just try and get the lowest premium possible. Because with silver for coins, you'll get a little bit higher premium at a coin shop, but for gold, it seems that in my experience, it's kind of just across the board. Where with gold, if you want to do private party sales, that's when you can get into coins. Obviously stack what you like, but when it comes to coming up with a plan to sell at some point, I kind of learned that the hard way when I first got into gold. I went into coins, and then it's like, oh, when I asked the local coin shop, oh, what would be the difference in price between this bar and this coin that are the same weight? It's like, yeah, it'd be the same for either when I'm paying a much higher premium for the coin. So for people looking into gold, I think that's definitely something to look out for, that it's just way more extreme. And I don't know, has your experience been pretty much the same with gold or?
Yeah, no, I think that that's great example, really good advice. Yeah, get those. If you want to get, the lowest price you can. I mean, if you're offloading in bulk, it is very similar. Get the lowest price bars you can find. Um, because the price will be, the price that you're able to onboard it at will be a staggering difference. Um, like if you got one of these little 2.5 grams, they're about 0.88 ounces. To get a 10th ounce coin, something like an eagle or Britannia maple, whatever, any of those, the premium is going to go way up. And maybe if you get lucky, but yeah, my impression is the same as you. They're not going to pay more for that if you're going and trying to bulk offload a bunch of gold. Maybe if you're lucky, slightly more, but it won't be worth it. So you'll be way better off if you're planning on selling to a coin shop with gold bars over gold coins.
Absolutely. And actually on your channel, on Mountain Bullion Entertainment, which I will put on screen right now, the thumbnail of that video and the link to your channel and all of that, we actually did like an hour-long conversation about stack composition. So check that out if you're interested in, getting more into the nitty-gritty of that. So that should be on screen right now. So, go check that out if you want to really get a deep dive into stack composition. But I know we've been mentioning premiums. So I thought we could discuss, especially for the new people, like why do these premiums exist? And maybe we can give kind of an explanation of the factors that go into that, because that's a big thing that new stackers always ask me, is they're like, wait, so the spot price, which the spot price is, what the price is. If you look up the price of silver or gold today, I think as of time of recording, it's $27.27 last time I checked, um, for silver. But that's not what you're going to be buying for, and that's not what you're going to be selling for. And just especially for the new people, I thought we could discuss a little bit about why premiums exist and what kind of market conditions can affect those premiums.
Sure, you bet. So when it comes to premiums, man, there is a big flex range there. Um, especially when you're offloading. Um, yeah, I remember selling a selectively gilded silver eagle, that just had some gold plating on it on eBay for, I was over double the spot price. The bidding on that just kept going up and up. And that's something that the coin, shop would never pay you that much for that coin. But what's happening is there's a spot price, right, that's set. And then the coin shop is going to sell their coins, or the online dealer, whoever it is, for something over spot. And so let's say, maybe they're selling their Eagles for $6 over spot, but they're selling their Philharmonics for $4 over spot. And when you're selling it to them, they're going to be buying it at spot, maybe a little higher, but that little flex range there, that's profit, for the distributor of the silver.
Yeah, I think basically as far as premiums, it basically comes down to because that spot price, like if you just Google whatever the price of silver is or whatever the price of gold, I mean, they're selling these paper contracts, the silver and gold ETFs, the futures contracts, all of that stuff, where they're basically moving around paper. But when you get to the physical metal, from mining it, so like, the people that run the mines have to make money, the refiners have to make money, the people that actually mint or pour the bars or rounds, coins need to make money. And then, to the end user, whether that be for investment or it ends up in a phone or something like that, because silver has many, many industrial uses. Same with gold, same with platinum. So it's really the premiums are kind of almost the price of it's just like the real price of the metal, like what you would actually pay to have the physical metal in your hand rather than buying a piece of paper that says you supposedly own some in a vault somewhere. Would you say that would be a pretty apt, basic description of that, or anything you'd
Yeah,
like to add?
that's a good way to get a handle on it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the price you're actually going to pay to physically be able to hold this stuff,
Hmm.
is the price with the premium. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because there can be a pretty big discrepancy with that. So people need to be really careful. Um, if you're reselling some constitutional silver, like these Walking Liberty $half here, at a coin shop, they're probably going to give you 0.715 ounces per, dollar face value of these. But if you were to sell these in a private party scenario, you might be able to sell them at a much higher price, like per coin, um, so that's something that people definitely want to keep in mind. Typically, it's the bigger it gets, the lower the premium goes. That's not always the case, but oftentimes.
You usually with coins, that's the opposite. When you start getting into like 10-ounce coins, kilo coins, those will have a higher premium. But yeah, as a general rule, absolutely. Um,
Yes, you're right. Some of those really big coins have insane premiums.
yes, they are beautiful though. I do want to talk about because actually, somebody asked me not that long ago, and this is somebody that has been stacking for a couple years. And they bought in private party sales, and they've also bought from online dealers, but they've never bought from a local shop. So I kind of wanted to talk about local shops versus online dealers. That kind of stuff. And then we can also talk about dollar cost averaging, which I think is a very important concept. But, they're online. Sometimes you can find better prices, but for me personally, at least for, bars and rounds and even most coins, uh, for me personally, at the local coin shops around me, are generally have a lower premium. Like you're going to get a better price when you're buying. But with online dealers, there's so much more variety. So if you're looking for a specific coin, your local shop might not have that, and they might not get it in for years. So
Yeah,
there's,
that's a good point because
mhm,
they do have really good deals, but yeah, when would they get that? And if you're looking for something specific, it's just totally random. John Wick will walk through their door or something like that,
yeah,
or a Libertad. And then when you start to look at some of the like Tudor or Beast, if they end up with like a Tudor or Beast with the dragon on it that walks through the door, that at least The LCSs in my area, they're going to tack a massive premium on that because they know they're not going to see another one anytime soon, you
Yeah.
know.
But sometimes at the local shops, if they do have it in, you can get a very good deal. Like I got some I collect the half ounce. I'm trying to get all of the half ounce Perth Mint Lunar Series 2 silver coins, at least two of each. And I found one that I didn't have, and they just happened to have them at one of my shops. And I got that for a much, much better price than anywhere online for that coin. But it's just a matter of, oh, somebody came in, happened to sell it, they happen to have it. Like I've got some Queen's Beasts as well. But if you're looking for something specific, I go in every time I go into this specific local shop of mine. I ask them for if they have any of the reverse proof 3/4 ounce Canadian coins because I really like to collect those. And they never have them in stock. So basically, my only option is online where they're kind of pricey. But if they happen to get them in stock, so it's always good to ask. And another good thing about local shops is that you can develop a relationship with them. I know the shops that I go to, I mean, one of those shops I've been going to for probably 8 years or something like that. And I know the people that work there pretty well. And sometimes they'll throw me good deals. Like, for example, there was one time I was going to buy some just regular Canadian maple leaves, 1 ounce silver maple leaves, and they brought out a bunch of reverse proof privy maple leaves and just gave me that for the same price. And I was like, "Oh, well,
Oh,
thank
awesome.
you." I was like,
Right.
th I was like, "Don't get me wrong, like, thank you very much, but why?" basically. And the guy was just like, I was there with my buddy, and he was like, I like you guys. I like talking to you guys. So here you go. So that can definitely be very beneficial, and it can go both ways. And not every shop is like that. I depends on your area, but there's multiple in my area that I go to. And I think it can be very beneficial both if you're selling or buying to develop that relationship where sometimes they'll just throw you better deals.
Yeah, in my case, I cannot find a better deal on constitutional silver online anywhere than I can find at local coin shop in my area here, with the exception of $1 coins. But man, they have really good deals on constitutional silver. And another thing that I feel like is important if you're, dollar cost average stacking and you're bringing in items here and there, is to, check it out to the best of your ability at your house. If you think you might have a fake and you want a second opinion, it's really nice to not be walking into your local coin shop for the first time to ask them if they can test this on their Sigma. Um, you know, it's nice that if they recognize you and you've dropped a little money here and there, they're going to be a lot more happier about helping you out with little things like that. And it wouldn't surprise me if you do take the time and check out the stuff at your local coin shop. You're going to find some really good deals.
Yeah, and before we hop on to dollar cost averaging, which is very important for both buying and selling, it might be across the board for the constitutional silver, the dimes, quarters, and halves, the 90%, as well as 80% Canadian. I mean, we're in the US, but at all the local coin shops around me, for 90% dimes, quarters, and half dollars, the prices are much better at all of the LCSs around me than anything I can find online. And I know you said that's the same thing with you, so that might just be an across the board thing.
Yes.
Because I would
So yeah,
imagine,
maybe that's all across the country. That's a good point.
yeah, I would imagine they get that in pretty often, because it was in circulation, and maybe that's why. But as far as dollar cost averaging, that is an extremely important concept that even people that have been stacking for a while, I feel sometimes don't do that. I mean, I've heard almost horror stories, and I hope these people are trolling, but I'm sure it happens where people like, back in 2011 when the price was way high on silver, they threw in $20,000 all in one purchase and they're stuck at that price point now. Whereas dollar cost averaging is basically what it sounds like. The dollar cost that you pay for the silver or gold that you buy, uh, you kind of average it out by making purchases over time, whether it's once a month, once every couple months, once every paycheck, however you want to do it, it's best to split that up so you're not locked into one price point. Because that would be terrible if somebody were to throw in all their money that they want to invest all at once and it happens to be a high price point, then they're kind of locked in and have to wait quite a while.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, if you're a new stacker, you should be really gun shy of doing anything like that. And of course, this isn't financial advice, and but
Mhm.
always, I mean, if you're thinking about going heavy on the metals, do your due diligence. You go to, um, one of the online dealers, or go to, silverprice.org, or just pull up a price chart. Look at where it's been historically. Look at the gold to silver ratio, and really analyze for yourself, is this unusually high right now? Is it safe for me to dump a bunch of money in this? Because that is a really sad scenario. 'Cause most people are not going to have that experience. That's an uncommon person who's done that. I've heard of these horror stories where
Mhm.
somebody got the FOMO, right at the peak of a blow off top and spent a bunch of money. And so yeah, be very cautious about that. And you can, to a certain extent, um look for like the best price even while you're dollar cost averaging. So let's say if you think to yourself, well, every 2 weeks I want to put whatever it is, that you decide, 10% of my paycheck into gold or silver. Well, do the same thing just for that week. Um, you know, Once you start to get a little more into the market, you might want to wait for regular times when the banksters do their price slams, and take advantage of that.
Mhm.
So, before close on Friday, early Monday morning, 10:30, you'll start to get a feel for when they do them. And so you might be able to find, a better deal even within that week. Maybe not a huge better deal, but by 50 cents or something like that.
Yeah. Which over time, I mean, if you're over years, that adds up to quite a lot more silver you can get with the same amount of money. And that, I guess, again goes into, definitely take the time to call around to different shops, look at different sites, try and get the best deals. If you're somebody just starting out, personally, I would not really get into private party sales unless it's like your best friend, like somebody you really trust. But buy from trusted places, like big trusted dealers, or local shops. I would stay away from pawn shops and stuff like that. I just wanted to throw that in there. But along with dollar cost averaging, another thing you can do there is the term buying the dip. So let's say every month, you have a certain amount of money that you kind of spend on silver or gold. Um, well, if the price dips down, like if the price goes down $2 an ounce or something, it's like, oh, maybe instead of putting, $200 like I normally do into it, I'll put $300. And then if the price, is going up, it's like, well, maybe I'll do less. So, you can kind of keep your total dollar cost average for your stack lower by kind of buying the dips and maybe holding off when the price goes up so you don't buy at too high of a price point. So those are definitely things to consider as well.
Yeah, that's a good tactic as well.
Hmm. And I know we've talked about gold and silver, and there's a thing called the gold to silver ratio, which at time of recording is 85 or about 85. So that means for every, in dollar values, for every 1 ounce of gold, you need 85 ounces of silver to get that. And I've done trades in the past. Most shops, especially if they know you, but even most shops in general, will do those types of trades. So I did you want to talk a little bit about kind of playing the gold to silver ratio, which might be a little more advanced, maybe not for people that are just getting into it. You kind of have to build your stack up a bit to be able to kind of play that game. But did you want to go into that?
Sure. I feel like for nowadays, because I do know sometimes people will wonder things like, well, when's the best time to sell? And that would probably be a good indicator to consider. Um, Historically, the gold to silver ratio was much, much lower than it is today. Um, the historic average they say was like 16 to 1. Maybe it's getting up a little closer to 19 to 1 or something like that nowadays, because of what it's been like in recent years. But as recently as 2021, the gold to silver ratio had gotten down to 64 to 1, I believe. And if it were to get to that today, because of gold's price increase, we'd be looking at something more along the lines of like $35 silver, maybe a little higher than
Mm.
that. Um, so if we start to see the gold to silver ratio get really low again, and it is something where you're thinking you want to offload silver at the best potential time, if it ever did get all the way down to like 20 to 1 or something like that, I probably wouldn't ever get any better than that. Because of the way the silver market is today, with the paper market having such a big effect on the price, until that whole thing is over, yeah, I don't know if we'll see it get that low, but who knows? Maybe we will see it get um, you way down, somewhere. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it gets back into the 60s in the relatively near future,
Mm.
maybe even down into the 40s. And it wouldn't surprise me if it went back to the historic average, maybe even lower. The reason being is the historic average was based on the rate that gold and silver were taken out of the earth. So for about every ounce of gold, they would take out about 16 ounces of silver when they were mining. Well, the mining rate right now is closer to like 7 to 1. Silver's price has been suppressed so bad, a lot of the mining companies aren't doing much with silver nowadays. So who knows where it could go.
Mm.
At various points in history, a couple times it got down to like 10 to 1.
Yeah. And especially over the long term, we're going to see a different ratio. But one thing, when I don't remember exactly how long ago, but where the ratio was like over 100, when gold had its big run up before silver started to follow it. And those are like good opportunities where, especially for people, especially with the higher premiums on fractional gold. People that can't really afford to buy 1 ounce gold coins, um, or whatever, you can trade silver for gold to do that. Now, when that number went up, that's more like you can trade gold and basically kind of get free silver is a way to look at it. It's how I look at it anyway. But if it's the opposite and the silver to gold ratio, like you were saying, if it starts going down, it gets to 50 or something like that, then you can take silver and trade for gold and almost get free gold in a way. And that's a way for people that, maybe only have enough spare capital to get an ounce a week or something like that can't of silver and can't really afford to get gold right now. Down the line, if you want gold, you can watch that ratio, and then once it gets to whatever point looks good for you, you can take your silver to a coin shop and trade it in for a half ounce of gold or whatever, and then you can get it for not as crazy of a premium. So you can play those ratios. That's something you can definitely do.
Absolutely.
And then as far as I did want to touch on, um recently. I guess how different market environments affect premiums at shops. Like if the price
Yeah,
shoots up really fast because like if you're selling to a shop, if the price shoots up really fast, it seems like generally they won't pay as high of premiums when you're trying to sell to them as if it were to hit that same price gradually over time because their inventory gets a little squeezed.
yeah, I think that you're right, and they're going to want to be cautious. I think something else that can affect that for the shops is just how much they have already. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if let's say you're wanting to sell them Philharmonics, and you might not know, but unfortunately for you, they got 5,000 of them sitting in back, and they're probably not going to want to give you a very high premium on those during that time period.
Hmm.
But if you walk into a shop that has five total, they're going to give you a probably decent premium for those coins.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it really depends because even, a couple years ago during the, first silver squeeze or whatever one wants to call it, back when silver, not this most recent time, but a couple years ago when it went up, it was very different. It seemed like at least the shops around me did not have inventory. Like they were paying really good premiums on stuff. So I guess it really depends. So that's just something you should call around for and maybe wait to hold off on selling, or depending on what price point you bought it at, maybe it's worth it. It's all personal, but these are just things to think about because, a couple years ago, one of the local coin shops around me, there was a time where they had so many people wanted to buy American Silver Eagles that they were selling for crazy premiums, and they were
Yeah,
buying them for $8 or $9 over spot at one point, which is
the Eagles
crazy
get
crazy.
yeah, the Eagles get crazy sometimes. For whatever reason, I have seen a couple
Mhm.
times when the demand for them was really high and people were paying these crazy premiums for them. And so yeah, I mean, you just never know. And then if you want to take advantage of little things like that throughout your stacking journey, that can help. If you think, hey, um, these seem like they're selling for an unusually high amount right now, I want to take advantage of this. That's something you can consider along the way.
Mhm. And we've been going for about an hour, so I did want to kind of just touch on a couple things really quick. I know we've been talking about silver and gold, but I did want to mention platinum really quick because that is a precious metal that is out there. But it's very industrial. Like I think over 95%, don't quote me on that, but about that goes straight to industrial use. So there's not a whole lot of investment stock for it. Now, I know I stack platinum bullion, not nearly as much as I have gold or silver, but I do have some. Um, and if you do decide to get into platinum, because personally I do think it's undervalued, you'll have to determine that for yourself. But it is very strange because not a lot of people, it's not like silver and gold where there's constant demand and people coming in, buying and selling at coin shops and whatnot. It's relatively difficult to find buyers. So coin shops often unless it's a 1 ounce platinum coin or bar, sometimes they don't even want to buy it at all. Or what they would offer you would be so low you wouldn't want to sell it. So with platinum, I would say in general, that would be more on the private sale side of things. Now, there is a shop around me that does have a connection somewhere to buy and sell platinum because they buy it for a decent premium. But that's almost something I would call around your local shops and see like, hey, do you deal in platinum much? Like, get some ideas before you get into it, maybe. I think that would be something to think about. And
That
so
that sounds like a really good idea to me.
Yeah, and really just in general, when if like especially for new people or even people that are experienced, they're anybody that's thinking, well, what should I start stacking now? What's the next thing? What should my next purchases be? Call around to your local shops and see like what are you buying Britannias for? What are you buying Eagles for? What are you buying bars or rounds for? All these different things. And that can kind of give you an idea. It's not guaranteed, but in the future, if you stack those things, like, oh, okay, this shop deals in these a lot. And they give a decent premium for it. So that can help you kind of get an idea of maybe what the future demand for certain coins or rounds are. And then, obviously I did want to touch on fractional silver. Um, that's like fractional bullion, 3/9 fine, pure silver bullion that is less than 1 ounce. At least online, the premiums on those are very, very, very high. Um, However, at some coin shops I've found, you can find them if they have them in stock for a small premium, where it's basically the same premium as buying a 1 ounce. If you buy 4 1/4 ounce rounds, it's the same as buying one ounce round. Whereas online, you're going to be paying way more the smaller you get. So I would watch out for fractional stuff, especially online. You might be able to find it at yeah, like a 1/2 ounce Sunshine Mint. I love those. I'm a big sucker for fractional
These
silver.
these
But
are pretty cool, huh?
yeah,
Unfortunately, I can't find good deals at my LCS on these or LCSs around here. And
yeah.
the vast majority, if I'm doing fractional, I typically go after the constitutional
Mhm.
silver.
Yeah, that's generally the best way to go is go for the 90% constitutional stuff. But if you can find deals for that at your coin shop, like I can sometimes, if that's what you're into, go for it because they do have an advantage, and I find that they're extremely liquid. 1/2 ounce rounds, 1/2 ounce bars. I've sold some of that stuff to people that don't even stack just because the price point is so low, where it's like, oh, you want to buy a 1/4 ounce, whatever, to a coworker or something. That's somebody that doesn't really even stack. And they're like, well, how much? Well, if it's, $10 or something like that, compared to $30, depending on what the price may be, that's a big difference for a lot of people. And it's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll buy one of those. So I find them to be almost the most liquid form of silver. But you just got to watch the premiums on the buying end. Um, so I just wanted to throw that out there. And obviously we've mentioned personally, like, especially when you get started, buy from reputable dealers,
Oh
please.
yeah, that's really important. You don't want to get anything fake.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be terrible to get fake stuff. Generally, if a deal is too good to be true, it's too good to be true and it's fake. And there are listings out there on eBay and other
Uh, Oh yeah,
places.
guaranteed. There's some on eBay right now. There's some fake silver on eBay right now, folks.
Oh, absolutely. So, especially when you get started, I would only buy from reputable shops or reputable big online dealers
Yeah,
because
and
and
I
and
mean if it's one of their shops on eBay, you should be just fine. If it's
mhm,
you name it. I'm not sponsored by anyone, but Liberty Coin, Bullion exchanges, any of those big online dealers, if it's one of their eBay auctions, because sometimes they will put some stuff on there pretty cheap because they're trying to offload a bunch of it. So,
yeah.
yeah, keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, that is the caveat that I would add because like for example, I'm not sponsored by anyone else, but I love to be hit me up. But you know, uh places like on eBay. I think AppMex has a store. I Jam Bullion might. I'm not sure, but there are big bullion dealers that have eBay stores. So, and yeah, a lot of times it is stuff that's for a better price than on their website. Um, so I would take a look out for that. I mean, I think we've went over like a decent amount of stuff. I guess before we kind of wrap things up, um, I suppose like the risks and rewards, because there is one way I suppose that people can try to make short-term gains with silver, and that's like flipping numismatic and collectors' coins and private sales. Now, that's not something I would necessarily recommend, especially to new people. I don't know. I would just say be very careful and get recognizable low premium stuff until you kind of figure out what you're doing. But I know I do private sales and Mount Bullion, you do private sales as well. So is there anything you'd kind of like to add on the flipping coins aspect of it? Like once somebody gets in, has maybe been stacking for a couple years, has some collector's coins and how to kind of go about that.
I mean, yeah, you can definitely make some money with that, and sometimes it could be surprising, but it's not something you would want to put too much stock in. But once you're kind of familiar with the market and you've seen a lot of stuff sell, you know, maybe you got a good deal on some Tudor Beast coins, and you see it selling online for much higher than the price that you paid for it. Sometimes it is good to take advantage of those situations. Um, especially if it's something where, you could basically take that money and get 50% more silver with it because the premiums went so high on some specific item. Sometimes you can play this trick with your local coin shops. If you see that your local coin shop is selling dimes for 228 per dime, and you see them selling online for 325 per dime. Although in general, it's going to be, relatively limited, and it's going to work the best if it's something that you bought a few years prior, and the market has really had some time to adjust. So the spot price is already higher than when you bought it, and there's a demand for that particular item, at that time.
Mhm. And I know you use eBay. I've used Facebook groups. That's a good place where if you type in the city or county you live in, and there'll usually be a page for like buy, sell, trade, something like that. There's usually many pages. And there's a lot of people. I mean, I can put up, if I wanted to, I could put up some silver bars on one of those Facebook marketplaces right now and get like 10 people messaging me. It's very easy to do. So I guess there's the online option as well as the in-person. Now, of course, there's security things. Usually if I meet up with somebody I don't know, meet at a neutral place. I don't have them come to my home or anything, at a restaurant or something like that. Or even if you want to, depending if you're buying in a private sale, potentially meet at a coin shop if you want to verify, but that I would say maybe only do that at a coin shop that you have a really good relationship with. But I would say just, meet at a neutral place. I wouldn't invite people to my home.
No, that's not, yeah, that would be really risky.
Yeah. And in general, I guess before we get kind of wrapped up, I did want to bring up the security thing because, how I mentioned in the beginning, how really the only risk there is, because there's no counterparty risk unless somebody like physically steals it from you. Uh, hide your silver well. I mean, obviously we are on YouTube and whatnot, but don't go around telling everybody that you have gold and silver. I have mine split up in multiple different places that are literally across the state with certain family members. Kind of don't hold all your eggs in one basket, at least once you get a large amount, and have it hidden away. Just use common sense, really. Don't have it sitting right out under your bed, like the obvious places, just in case.
Oh yeah, you definitely want to have it split up into multiple locations. Um, yeah, that's really important.
And
And I do think it's important to like you said, keep it quiet. And then also I do believe that there might be a 100% crossover between gun ownership and stacking.
yes,
So if you're not in that 100%, I would recommend getting yourself into that 100% crossover
yeah.
immediately.
I mean, I advocate for people to exercise their Second Amendment rights. I know that I do. Everybody that I live with is armed. I'm armed. Um, so that and that's a general life advice. Protect yourself because that's what it comes down to if something bad does happen. You have yourself and whoever is around your family to rely on, and your family has you to rely on. I guess we're kind of going, in general, but I highly advise people to exercise their Second Amendment rights.
Absolutely.
All right. And unless I think we covered a lot of stuff, especially for newer stackers or for people that are maybe a couple years in, and hopefully just some refresher stuff for maybe people that have been stacking for a long time or perhaps haven't considered certain things like doing the gold to silver ratio or even looking into platinum. Is there anything else that you've thought of that you'd like to bring up? I mean, I know we covered a lot, but
Yeah, I just want to say, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Always do your due diligence. Make sure you check around for your best deals. And what I would say is especially if you're shopping online, and fill the cart up, right? Let's say open up, 3 or 4 different online dealers, get the item you want, fill the cart up and go all the way to checkout because every once in a while they'll have little fees or something, or you might realize, oh, this dealer is located in one of the few states that's charging taxes. This dealer in Texas looks better now that I'm all the way to checkout, it's a few bucks cheaper. So I would say go all the way to checkout. And before you commit to that, do that same thing on multiple sites. And then,
yes.
of course, be familiar with your tax laws in your local area.
Mm.
And, you could call your LCS or swing by there too, if you wanted to get a price quote from the locals.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good idea because there are sites that, once you get to checkout, you'll notice, oh, they have a separate insurance fee that's $5, and that pushes them to be more expensive than this other site. That's a very good idea is to go all the way to checkout with multiple different sites with the same set of items and just see overall, because there can be some hidden fees on certain sites that you don't see until you get to checkout. Uh, that
Absolutely.
that's very good. I didn't even think of mentioning that. I'm glad you brought that up. So thank you for watching. I hope this was informative. And I will put Mountain Bullion Entertainment's YouTube channel on the screen right now, and it'll also be in the description of this video, as well as his Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, account. And did you want to just give a brief explanation of what your channel's all about?
Yeah, if you guys would like to check it out, I would be honored. If you would like to check out my YouTube channel or my Twitter, my YouTube channel is Bullion channel, and you can learn stuff about coins. I also talk about what's going on in the markets that might affect gold or silver, and so it's all fun stuff. My attempt is to present all the information in an entertaining format, and so yeah, I'd love for each and every one of you to check it out.
All right, awesome. Yeah, guys, go check him out. And thank you so much for watching. I know we covered a lot of information. It's a pretty wide topic, but hopefully you guys got some value out of it, even if you've been stacking for a long time, and especially for new people. Just be careful, like take it slow, you know. Don't rush into it. I think everybody makes mistakes when they first start. I know I did, but you learn pretty quick. But hopefully this video helped people out. And again, not financial advice. We're not financial advisors. We've just been stacking for a long time, and thought we'd share our guess experiences and opinions. So thank you so much for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone. That was a fun conversation, and I look forward to speaking with you next time.
All right. See you, everybody. Bye.